Hey there, thanks for joining me for another Basics of the Bible video. My name is Christopher Scott, and I've been making these videos to help you understand some of the basics of the books of the Bible. There's a link down there in the description at the very top to the playlist of this video series. There are 75 different videos in that playlist, all provided to you for free to help you understand what are some of the basics of the Bible and how do we understand it. So thanks for watching. Would love to have you watch more videos and learn more about the Bible. This video, we're going to look at the book of Ezra. The book of Ezra. So Ezra is part of the historical books in the Bible, the category of historical books. So there are 66 books in the Bible. There are 39 in the Old Testament, 27 in the New Testament. Out of those 39 in the Old Testament, there are 5 books of Moses. We call those the Pentateuch or the Torah: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. So there's 5 books of Moses. And then right after those 5 books of Moses, there are 12 historical books. Historical books just meaning they tell history, mostly from a straight, they tell it in a straight line. Once you get to Chronicles, it kind of starts over again. And so Ezra is one of those 12 historical books. And the one-word description I have for Ezra is returning. Returning, because Ezra talks about returning of the nation of Judah back to their land of Judah, into the city of Jerusalem. And we'll talk about when they go back and who they go back with in a few minutes. So Ezra describes the return of the Jews to Jerusalem. After enduring their time in exile under Babylon and Persia, the Jews are allowed to return to Jerusalem to rebuild their temple. This happens because King Cyrus of Persia conquers the Babylonians in 539 BC, and in 538 BC, King Cyrus of Persia issues this decree, this permission that allows the Jews to return to Jerusalem. So in 536 BC, 49,897 Jews return to Jerusalem. They rebuild the altar and they sacrifice an offering in the 7th month. There is what they get to do and return back to the land. So that's what Ezra is about. And so the author of Ezra, some people, we don't exactly know, it doesn't tell us, but most people would say that Ezra wrote the book of Ezra. The audience of the book is the nation of Judah that is back in the land. They have returned from Persia. They're back in the land. Ezra writes this book to tell them their history and record the things that happen. The date the book was written was likely 450 BC to 425 BC, but it covers events, like I mentioned, between 538 BC and 458 BC. So 538 BC to 458 BC. And I have big events of the Old Testament down there in the description, all listed out there for you. So it might be good for me to give you a rough history of the Old Testament, I think. So let's start with King David. So David is king in Jerusalem and of Israel. He dies. Solomon assumes the throne. That's the book of 2 Kings. Solomon is strong and wealthy. 1 Kings, I mean. And then Rehoboam takes over in 531 BC. Solomon's son, Rehoboam, takes over as king of Israel. And so 10 tribes from the north come down to Rehoboam and say, hey, you've worked us really hard. We don't want to work as hard as your dad Solomon worked us. Rehoboam responds and says, I'm going to work you even harder than my dad did. That's in 2 Kings chapter 12, I believe. And so as a result of that, Israel says, sayonara, we're leaving the nation and we're going to make our own nation in the north. There's 10 tribes that live in the north. Their capital city was Samaria, and they are called Israel in the north. And then there are 2 tribes that are left in the south. Benjamin and Judah are those 2 tribes, and so they make up the nation of Judah, and the capital city of Judah was Jerusalem. So that's when we have the divided kingdom that happens in 931 BC. And then in 722 BC, Assyria comes and they conquer Israel in the north in 722 BC, and they take those 10 tribes off to Assyria. Some period of time goes by, the nation of Babylon conquers Assyria, And then Babylon comes to Jerusalem, to the nation of Judah, and they conquer Judah in 605 BC, 597 BC, and 586 BC. And it's really in 586 BC that Babylon comes to Jerusalem and completely levels the city and the temple and takes almost everybody back to Babylon. But then a period of time goes on and Persia conquers Babylon. And the king of Persia was a guy named Cyrus. So in 539 BC, King Cyrus of Persia conquers Babylon. And in 538 BC, he gives this decree, this permission to the Jews to return back to Judah, to the city of Jerusalem, to worship their God and rebuild their temple. That happens in 538 BC. So in 536 BC, like I mentioned, 49,897 of them are in Jerusalem rebuilding the temple and make a sacrifice there. Okay, and that's the key verse of Ezra is chapter 6, verse 14, talks about what they have done, how they have returned, and how they have offered a sacrifice. Ezra 6:14 says, "And the elders of the Jews were successful in building through the prophesying of Haggai and the prophet Zechariah. They finished building according to the command of God of Israel and the decree of Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, king of Persia." Okay, so that's the key verse of Ezra. And an outline of Ezra that I want to give you. The first 6 chapters are about the return of the Jews to Jerusalem under Zerubbabel. Ezra is not there under that first return. So that's the first return. Chapters 1 through 6 are the return under Zerubbabel. And there's a couple guys there. Haggai and Zechariah are 2 prophets we have, 2 minor prophets. They are involved in that. They are doing ministry during those first 6 chapters, during the return. And like I said, that happens 538 BC to 536 BC. And then there's a 60-year gap between chapters 6 and chapter 7 of Ezra. So between chapter 6 and between chapter 7, there's a gap of 60 years, and that's where the book of Esther takes place. Okay, so that's what makes it difficult. That's where the book of Esther takes place between chapter 6 and chapter 7, and then chapters 7 through 10 talks about the priest Ezra, who has returned to Judah and Jerusalem and is helping them get things right and doing the rituals as Jews. Okay, so I hope that makes a little sense. So the first 6 chapters are about Zerubbabel and the people returning. Then there's a 60-year gap between chapter 6 and chapter 7. That's where the book of Esther takes place. And then chapters 7, 8, 9, and 10 are about Ezra in the land of Jerusalem and Judah. So thanks for watching this video. The Old Testament is difficult. There's a lot of history and foreign places and people that we don't always know. So I have a bunch of this information in the description down there, all given to you for free. I hope helps you as you study the book of Ezra and have some time to work through it. If you found this video helpful, I'd love to have you subscribe to my monthly email newsletter. When you subscribe to my monthly email newsletter, I give you a free Bible study guide that will teach you how to study the Bible for yourself. And also, I promise to send you only 1 email a month where I give you links to my newest articles that I have had published, as well as links to these new YouTube videos that are put on YouTube. So thanks for watching. I hope to catch you again soon in another video.